Hey everybody, the video I'm bringing you this week isn't the normal type of video. It's my take on what I've just been watching from a distance, although I feel I'm part of it because it's only happening 200 k's down the coast from where I am. It's 30 hours after the volcanic eruption at White Island. It appears that 13 people have died and around 30 have been severely injured. It's the beginning of the tourist season in the Bay of Plenty. White Island is probably their biggest tourism drawcard, and we've had a period of heightened activity at the volcano for the last 2 weeks. What that's done is brought more punters. More people want to go out to the island and see a volcano that is in a heightened state of activity. I was first made aware of the eruption at 15 minutes past 2. The eruption happened at 11 minutes past 2. Not by the news or by the police or officials, but by a friend of mine who had posted a photograph on Facebook showing from the shore 30 kilometres out, huge plume of smoke saying White Island's gone off. And we didn't really think about the tour groups that may have been out there. We know it's uninhabited, but when it happened nobody really thought that there could have been up to 100 people at a time out there. Now, I've done very little over the last 24 hours other than try and gain every little bit of news I could, and my thanks go out to another YouTuber who was first on the spot. This YouTuber is somewhere in America. He's called Agenda Free News. Don't know the guy's name, but he did an awesome job for something like 6 or 7 hours of compiling everything as it came to hand and presenting it to us in a very clear format. This guy even made a very good job of pronouncing the New Zealand names like Whakatane and Tauranga. The news expanded. You know, first of all we heard that there could have been 100 people out there, then we heard that there were more like 50 people out there, then we heard that there were only 30 people on the island at the time. 8 of them had been brought off. Little snippets of news coming in all the time. It was awful. It was awful. This morning I woke up to the news that we had Japanese, Singaporean, I think 8 Americans were involved. There were people from Great Britain and several Germans, as well as only 4 New Zealanders. It is largely an overseas tourism thing. The stories from the survivors and the people who've been helping are absolutely shocking, because quite simply it was a mixture of poisonous gases, sulfuric acid, heat and rocks getting thrown up in an absolute explosion. There was no warning. Granted, the island has been in a state of elevated unrest, but no warnings were issued. They just said that lake temperatures were up and the geysers were playing a little more than normal. That's what got everybody out there. I've been thinking quite deeply about the people involved all the way through. There's people overseas who don't know what's happened to their loved ones. It's going to be some while until they find out details. I guess by now the news is filtering through, the official news of the names. There's a large cruise ship that left from Sydney a few days ago. One of its first stops was the port of Tauranga. This cruise ship was the Ovation of the Seas. I can't remember the name of the company that run it, but the Ovation of the Seas is a huge cruise ship that carries something like 3,000 people. It berthed in the port of Tauranga, and people elected what activities they were going to go and do for the day. Around 100 people decided to go out to White Island. Well, they take them out on different boats. It's one company, but they run 2 boats. They do 2 tours in the morning and 2 tours in the afternoon. I presume this was the afternoon tour, just arriving. There's also helicopter tours that go out there. There was a helicopter on the ground at the time. It's about 400 metres, 400 yards from the edge of the crater where they land. But the helicopter was actually blown over backwards from the blast of the explosion. There was a pyroclastic flow that flowed from the crater right down through the cutout in the crater wall down to the ocean's edge. That cutout in the crater wall was created by a massive explosion in, I believe it was the 1930s or the 1940s, when sulphur miners were out working on the island, and they all lost their lives, around 30 of them I believe, when the island once again exploded suddenly. It's got a history for it. It's where the salt water meets the lava. It's busy all the time, and that's what's made it so popular with the tourists. So once again, I just wanted to bring you my perspective on it, how closely it's affected all of my friends who live around here. I've got friends who have been guides. They're not currently guides for the company, but they've worked there. They've been to that island dozens of times. I've sailed around the island, had a good look at it, haven't landed on it, but I know that it's pretty awe-inspiring. It's like taking a trip to another planet. There's no life on the island, no animals live there, no birds roost there as far as I know. There are no trees, no bushes. There's one little patch of grass and a tiny little secluded bay on the sheltered side, but the poisonous gases have made it so that virtually nothing else can live there. It's desolate. So once again, my condolences go out to everybody involved. It's an awful story to have to bring to you, but I don't want you paying attention to skewed news reports of what happened or what might have happened. The government have started a criminal investigation to see if the owners of the tour company are criminally liable for the loss of life, although no regulations have been put in place by the government to ensure that in states of heightened activity nobody goes out there. It's all down to the tour operators and the people themselves. If customers want to go and the tour operators feel it's safe, the weather's good, they'll take them out there. They're in the money-making business. So that's just the way it is.